right now. Hey everybody, welcome to the webinar on best practices when leading remote workers. So I'm Pete from the Personnel Board Training Department, and we are about to share some information if you're leading employees remotely. So let's get started here with some of this information and kind of share some stories and see how we can best help you. So step number one, and this doesn't really apply to just remote workers. I think it applies to all of us. Now is the time you all have to be open and authentic. If you are a supervisor or a manager and you're leading a team, and this applies if they're not remote as well, but especially if they are working remotely, now's the time to be as open, authentic, transparent as you possibly can be. Yesterday, as an example, and I'm not sure every city or agency wants to do this, but Mayor Randall Woodfin for the city of Birmingham had a live teleconference for all of his employees. So all of his employees could call in, they could ask questions, what's happening with hazard pay? Is there a chance any of us will be furloughed? How come some people are getting hazard pay and some aren't? So there were some tough questions that were asked, but his presence out there, whether you liked his answers or not, had to be appreciated, had to be out there for everybody. So just the idea of putting yourself out there and being open and authentic, I think, is important. For all you managers out there, share what you can during this time. I know that there is a sense sometimes to, well, I don't want to share anything till I have all the information. Because until I get until it's official, I don't want to share too much. There's pros and cons to that. The challenge with that, y'all, comes when people are talking anyways. There's still the gossip, there's still the backstage stuff, there's still people who are talking. So they're having those conversations whether you're sharing all the information or not. So sometimes the best information to share is, I'm going to share everything I can, and right now I don't have that answer. I don't know what's going to happen with the budgets. I don't know what's going to happen with possible furloughs. We don't know what the tax dollars are that are going to be coming into our city for another 3 weeks. We don't know when we're going to start going back to work. So sometimes we're like, I hate being the leader who says, I don't know. I hate being that leader because I don't want to have the answers. Sometimes just being open, authentic, this helps to foster trust. It does. You're trying to build trust and respect. Don't lie. Don't stretch the truth. In fact, we're going to have a session coming up in a couple of days about words not to use as a leader. So like fine. Don't worry. Trust me. Everything will be fine. Not a good thing to say because what is fine and we don't know what fine is. So don't hide from the issues, but make sure that you're out there. I would recommend daily check-ins with your employees. If you have employees working remotely, I would absolutely say make sure that you're out there. Well, thank you, Billy. It is the elephant in the room, but it's not an elephant if we're talking about it. Amanda, yes, we are all muted. You can ask questions in the chat box if you'd like or just want to share some information. But yeah, and Billy's right. The elephant in the room, none of us are stupid. We all realize that, okay, if taxes are down and revenues are down in cities and occupational taxes down and things are down and there's no money coming in, is there going to be enough money to pay employees? That's a legitimate question. The true answer for all of us is no one knows. No one knows because we don't know what the dollars are. We don't know what's happening. We don't have the information. So all we can do is say we're going to do everything we can to make sure that every single employee, is focused on and all of that. But everyone's, whether you're public sector, private sector, we're all watching the news. We all know what's going on. So all I can say is, as a leader, just be open, authentic, transparent, share what you can when you can. All right, so that's number one. Number two, for leading remote teams, create the virtual water cooler with the correct tools to use. Don't want to stereotype too much, but we can do the whole introvert, extrovert thing here as well. If I'm an introvert and I go into work every day and I work in IT or I work in finance and I do my work all day and then I go home, when someone says, hey, you've got to work from home now all the time, okay. That's fine with me. Whereas people who tend to be more of have a preference for extroversion are like, I need people, I need talk, I'm going to start talking to the lava lamp or talking to the window or talking to whatever. So it's the leader's job to know what his employees need. And it's the leader's job to actually make sure they create that virtual water cooler. People still need relationships. They need places to talk. They need places to kind of do that. So use whatever tools that you can. We here at the Personnel Board, we're using Zoom. I know a lot of you like to use a GoToMeeting, maybe GoToWebinar. Zoom is free. It's free right now. So if you're a manager, go ahead and get a Zoom account and set up some of your meetings. And some people are like, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want people to see me. But you want to have that visual connection with people, whether it's a once a week or twice a week or just for 15 minutes, just to kind of check in and let your employees know. Email is not the only option during this time. You all have to make sure you branch out. You can't lead a team of remote workers just via email. Oh, I email my people every day. You can't read body language. You can't see what's going on. You have to really be aware. In fact, that's something that people miss. When my team comes into the office, I can tell right away if one of my employees is having a bad day. I can tell by their body language. I can tell by the way that they're sitting. So if they respond to an email terse or short or whatever, I can kind of chalk that up to they're just having a bad day. But if they do it remotely, then I'm like, hey, what are you doing? That's insubordination. That's like, really bad. So, it's important to have those relationships that are kind of going on. So check out Zoom. I would also recommend Slack. Slack is also free, and this gives you all the back channel. Here's what I mean by the back channel. This is the water cooler talk. This is where the conversations happen. This is where we're all working at home if you're working remotely, but you want to say something like, hey, have you all been watching Tiger King? Well, you don't want to go to email and email everybody out and say, people watching Tiger King. And now emails start coming back and like, oh, that's great. And yes, I'm watching it. Have you seen this? And that's the kind of talk that might happen in the office. But if you do it on Slack, again, this is what it looks like where I work. Everybody gets on in the morning and they say, hey, good morning, everybody. And what's happening and happy Friday. And here's a picture of what happened at my daughter's 16th birthday. And oh, that's so cool. And then we get back to work. And then every now and then you might see a pop-up, hey, have you seen Tiger King? And some managers might say, we don't want to use that because people will take advantage of it. They'll stop working. It's a distraction. Maybe, but if you're on it with them and you're participating and you're minimizing it, you can also be in there to go, hey, let's shut this down for a while. We're still behind on our deadlines, this and that. You just want to have some type of virtual water cooler for your employees. You can't just expect them to sit at home and work 8 hours a day like they do in the office. They get up and stretch their legs and do things there as well. So just kind of be aware of those things as you're leading. So that's tip 2. Tip number 3, as the manager, get rules of engagement. What I mean by that is, how do I interact with people? What as a leader, what is your best way to communicate? Hey, well, now that I'm at home, if it's urgent, text me. But if it's not urgent, put it on Slack. Hey, I'm going to be out of listen, now that I'm at home, my kids are at home, I'm working with my kids, I've made it a point to have lunch with them every day from 12 to 1. I don't get to have lunch with my kids because they're in school. Now that I'm forced to work at home, I definitely want to have, so please try not to, unless it's an emergency, text me, but don't get mad if I don't respond between 12 and 1. So just, what are our rules of engagement? How often are we going to communicate? How often are we going to check in? How can we get a hold of each other? Kind of important. So as the leader, set that up with your direct reports. Let them know, hey, let's use email for this. Let's use text for this. Hey, my phones are forwarded from the office. You can always reach me there. Don't try to get me between 5 and 6. That's happy hour. So whatever, whatever it might be. Jerry just said this is a picture of Iceland, and Jerry's been on vacation to Iceland for a couple times. So really, really glad to get that feedback from you, buddy. I see, hold on one second. I see I've got a couple of Q&A things here. What other platforms are out there that you have found to be helpful? I like free ones. So the ones that have been recommended are Zoom, Slack is for chatting. There's also talk about something called Microsoft Teams. You can do Microsoft Teams. If all of your employees have access to Facebook, you could create a Facebook group. So you could create a group, or you can communicate on Facebook as well. Depends on what's offered through your city or through your agency, and also what they will allow you to do. Some things get blocked as well. Someone also said Tiger King was crazy, made no sense, but I love it. Yeah, absolutely. We're all losing brain cells by watching that particular show. But thank you for those questions, and thank you to the 38 people who are currently on. That's awesome. All right, last one, last tip. It's going to be this. As a leader, offer encouragement, support, and compassion. You got to hold up these tree branches. That's your job as the leader. So again, if you were a hands-off type of leader in the workplace and you weren't really a micromanager and you just tell people, you work, I trust you, that's fine. It's different from when you're working remotely. And these are three very separate things. Encouragement is, people listen. I got to be careful because I don't want this to come across as a humble brag, hashtag humble brag. But I consider myself a hard worker. I really do. I like to work. I like to put in a hard day's work for a hard day's pay. When you work remotely, and I hope my boss isn't watching this, when you work remotely, there are some times when you're like, it's 2 o'clock and I don't know what to do because I'm bored and I'm looking at something and I should dust and there's the dog and should I go for a walk? And you start losing your focus. So there may need to be encouragement from the leader that's just saying, hey, we're all going through this together. Hang in there. You can do this. Support is for people. People are still having struggles at home. What if some of your coworkers or some of your direct reports are married to people who have lost their jobs? Maybe they work in the hospitality industry. Maybe they work in the retail industry. Maybe they're furloughed. Stuff is going on. So you can't just assume that people are working remotely and are so focused on work. A lot of you are homeschooling right now. You've got the kids. So the manager needs to be there to ask. And these are questions you ask at the virtual water cooler. These are questions the leader should be asking. Don't just start off with the meetings with, all right, Billy, what are you working on today? All right, when's that due? Okay, Jeff. Okay, good. Okay, Chuck, Charles, you need to start off your virtual water cooler talks with, all right, Easter is on Sunday. What are y'all doing for Easter this Sunday? Hey, what'd y'all do this weekend? There was some tough rain. Have these dialogues, with your employees to offer support, because some of them may say things like, I'm having a hard time with my kids doing school. I'm having a hard time, doing this. So the leaders need to realize you still want to get the work out of the employees who are working remotely, but to get that work, it's your job to make sure you're supportive, you're encouraging, and to add a little bit of compassion about that. I try not to do too many quotes because it seems cliche, but y'all hopefully know the Maya Angelou quote, which is something like this. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget. Type it in the chat box. First person to type in the chat box gets a free day off, courtesy of the merit system. Good job, Billy. How it made you feel. Billy, go ahead and take tomorrow off. Great job. So people will remember what you said, will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People won't forget how they made you feel. So as a leader, how are you making the people feel who are working remotely these days? So let me close with this story about the fishing village. In the evenings, the fishermen get together to be social and have fun. But every morning before dawn, they head out to sea alone in their individual small fishing boats. They can stay in radio contact with each other, but each fisherman is on their own. There is little direct help they can offer each other. There's no coming back until enough fish have been caught. But once they get back, they're having fun again. The remote organization feels like this sometimes. Every employee is alone in their boat, working until the work is done. And every now and then, the company brings everybody back together in one place to be social and share fishing stories. You can't just have all your employees being fisher people out there coming back, but nobody on the shore to connect with. So make sure as a leader, you're providing that. So here's your 4 things. Be open and authentic, create a virtual water cooler with the correct tools, get rules of engagement out there as well, and offer encouragement, support, and compassion. So here's our final polling question for y'all. Of all of these, even if you're not a manager or a supervisor, you can still answer. But if you're a manager or a supervisor, of these 4 choices, which one do you think you can start to implement tomorrow or maybe even next week? Are you going to try to be more open and authentic? Are you going to try to say, hey, that virtual water cooler, maybe I will look into Slack or I will look into Zoom? You know what? I haven't even talked about rules of engagement. No one even knows when I work, when I want to. I think I'll share that with people. Or is it, I want to offer more encouragement, support, and compassion? So anybody can vote, even if you're not in a supervisory role. If you were in a supervisory role, which one of these would you implement? So, you know, go ahead and kind of do that as well. You can vote for what you need most as an employee as well. So while y'all are finishing voting, let me remind you a little bit about what these are. These are going to happen, they're on our Facebook page. These are going to happen every Monday through Friday through the month of April. We've got all types of different topics. Tomorrow's topic is going to be leading during times of change. So there's so much rapid change going on. What might we do as leaders to make sure that we're adapting to change and giving our employees what they need? So, all right, let's end the polling and let's go ahead and share and see what you all thought. All right, a lot of you want your employees to just offer more, or your supervisors to offer more encouragement, support, and compassion. So if you're a leader out there, do that. 50% is, isn't that crazy? Yes, I should, you know, create a water cooler. Yes, I should share rules. You know what? I need to be there for my employees. I need to ask about them. I need to check on them. I need to give them the support that they need. So whether you were an employee saying this is what you need, or whether this is you're a leader saying you should be doing this, encouragement, support, and compassion. Outstanding. Good job. Thank you, everybody. Let me stop this. Let me go to the Q&A real quick. Anything else out there? Will I be back tomorrow? I'm awesome. Thank you, Monique. You are awesome as well. Yes, I'll be leading tomorrow, and then the rest of the team is taking over in the next couple weeks, and we're going to have a good time with all of these. So it'll be good. So Isla, thank you for quoting High School Musical. We are all in this together. Once we stop, we can go. There's a stop, and we'll see that we're all in this. Okay, that's good with that. All right, so in any event, thank you, Jeff. Don't sing. No, thank you for singing. Have a great Thursday. We'll see some of you tomorrow. If you're off tomorrow, have a great weekend and be a great leader out there. The personnel board is thinking about you and cares about you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.